And we are back with more News Talk Saga 960. So very glad you could join us on this edition of the Mark Petrona Show. Well, so much is going on, including Justin Trudeau in Saskatoon having to answer the question about why he didn't invite Premier Scott Moe to his news conference. I think he's grumpy. I really do. I think he's in a bad mood because he's not in Davos having a grand old time with his globalist buddies. That's what I personally think. The other story that's going around is this weird video being circulated. Obviously, it's a mystery as to who actually produced it, but this individual seems to think that the proverbial bomb is about to drop on the House of Representatives in the United States, where Speaker McCarthy, who, according to this person in the video, used to be on the bad guy's side, is now on the good guy's side, and he's about to release a whole bunch of information about what really happened on the J6 insurgency. Well, that's what the left is calling it. It was anything but. Anyway, all these stories are great, and who better to talk about it than Andy Lee, coming to us from beautiful Calgary, Alberta. Andy, I know you've been keeping an eye on these stories. Well, okay, maybe not the other one about the J6 stuff, but you've been keeping an eye on Trudeau, the mining issue, him in Saskatoon. How you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you, Mark? Good to see you as always. Yeah, so Justin Trudeau had to sneak into Saskatchewan like a bandit to make this announcement, and Premier Scott Moe wasn't very happy with him. So, but I do think it's like a good thing in general, and that they are waking up that, this is a really, really important industry. If you look at some of the Stats Canada stuff that's out, our mining industry is sort of carrying this, along with our other natural resource industry is sort of carrying this country right now, GDP wise anyways. So yeah, but I mean, we've been hammering him. Of course, he got busted, selling the lithium mines to China last year. He took quite a beating over that, not just domestically, but internationally as well. So, I think that the U.S. has probably put him on notice, and he's paying attention. And of course, the Epoch Times put out a story about another lithium mine sale that was going through, and we did a story on this as well. It was to Ultra Lithium, and I really questioned that sale. And we talked about that, and it's got some really weird ties, like the chairman or the CEO of the company Ultra Lithium. He's a Chinese guy. He also was on the board of the company that was going to acquire it. So pretty sketchy there. So anyways, they actually got ordered to divest. So they have to, move their operations out of Ultra Lithium. So that was a big win.
Let's listen to Justin. Let's listen to Justin Trudeau in Saskatoon before you go, because you did post this earlier.
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau calls out China's dominance in the global rare earth supply chain. But I mean, he's part of the reason for that dominance, right? He's the one who sold us out to China on a number of other projects, and you've highlighted that. Anyway, let's listen to him in Saskatoon.
Question.
There's concerns of a shortage of the minerals needed for especially batteries and other components for electric vehicles. What's being done to ensure regulatory and...
That reporter is just, he's so in awe of speaking to the prime minister. He's just like shaking. He just can't believe he's talking to Justin Trudeau. Wow.
Supply chain certainty for companies looking to bring those type of products to market.
Well, what is going on is not so much a shortage of those critical minerals like lithium and rare earth elements around the world, as a domination by certain suppliers, in this case China, of things that are essential not just for our economies, but for the future of our economies as well, all around the world. And that understanding, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, following the supply chain disruptions and challenges around China of the past pandemic, has meant that there has been an awakening to allies in Europe, in the United States, and around the world, that Canada can and must be an extraordinarily reliable supplier of high quality ingredients in the economy of tomorrow. That's why we're here today, to highlight that Canadian workers and Canadian investors have created this opportunity for Canada to be the reliable supplier that the world is going to need as we move.
But the world needs energy right now. we had the Germans, we had the Japanese come over and, hey, you know, we could really use liquid natural gas. And he's saying, yeah, well, what about those minerals? You know, he doesn't want to talk about energy. I mean, that's what a good chunk of the world is crying out for, is LNG. And we're not Johnny on the spot at all. We're nowhere to be found. And as far as the minerals are concerned, I mean, nobody knows this better than you. I mean, you have covered this. This guy has sold us out, hasn't he, in a number of different projects?
Yeah, he really did. So you know, the sale to Zijin was a big blow. That was a huge lithium brine project in Argentina. You know, maybe one of the biggest projects in the world. So it was a massive blow. Even though the mine wasn't located in Canada, it was still our asset, right? So it was something we should have held on to, and that was Zijin's fourth takeover in since 2018 that went unquestioned. So, and one of Zijin's biggest investors is BlackRock. BlackRock, you know, has got some significant investments in that company as well. So, yeah, I mean, you know, he hasn't done much to protect our industry. So, like I said, I mean, it's nice seeing him pivot. I don't know how much he means it or how much, you know, he's just sort of saying this because, you know, he was, you know, came under the spotlight for these sales and things like that. So, yeah, but what could I say? You know, I think he's come to the realization that he's not going to accomplish his green dreams, and you know his net zero wet dream that he's got, you know, you know, without these critical mineral industries. You know, he was very happy though before to sell this off, you know, to Chinese companies and let them acquire assets. Previously, before the U.S. started calling him out, and you know, U.S. congressmen started calling him out. So, I mean, it's a good pivot. It's good for us, right? It's good for Canada to see them. And I mean, you know, that sale actually, you know, spurned a whole new strategy, and that was really good. And you know, made the budget, and now there's budget recommendations and funding and things like that for critical minerals and that industry. So that's really, really good. The unfortunate part about it is that some of these companies would also be this is something that the United States is doing, is they would be eligible for funding from the Department of Defense, because that's part of their national security initiative, is that they are actually funding, the Department of Defense is funding these mining projects and exploration projects as part of their national security strategy. And Canadian firms would be eligible for this, except for the fact that so many of our firms have got Chinese investments, and that's a roadblock to getting that funding. So that's why you don't allow these, you know, these takeovers and these investments to happen. That's just another,
which he has, but he's also
companies could be getting funding from the Department of Defense as part of a North American strategy, you know, to start stockpiling critical minerals.
Is that why we're not in this new little club that includes Australia, the UK, and the USA? This is the Asian troika, right? And Canada's like, yeah, we don't want you guys in here. We don't want Trudeau. We don't trust Trudeau. He's in bed with the Chinese. I mean, isn't that something that probably plays into this? The fact that we're no longer trusted enough to be part of that, you know, new organization that's trying to be, you know, sort of a you know, to push back against Chinese militarism and threats against Taiwan and the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, there was never really a good explanation as to why we didn't join that alliance, and why we weren't invited.
We weren't invited. Yeah,
we were invited, basically. So that was a sad moment in Canadian history, I think. You know, whenever our allies kind of give us the cold shoulder, it's not a good thing. But I do think it's forcing our government into pivoting into a more realistic, you know, strategy and more realistic, you know,
the
view.
guy's been there for 8 years, for almost 8. I mean, honestly, he's a little slow on the uptake. But what about this now? He was asked why he didn't invite Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe to his event. Let's listen.
We'll start with CBC Saskatoon.
This morning, Premier Scott Moe said he was disappointed that you were coming to Saskatchewan to this facility on your tour, but he was not aware of the visit. Why didn't your office provide notice or extend an invite? And what's your reaction to that disappointment?
We've had lots of great opportunities to make announcements with Premier Moe over the years. The government of Saskatchewan is an important partner on many different issues. At the same time, we also know there's work to be done on encouraging the government of Saskatchewan to see the opportunity opportunities that companies and indeed workers are seeing in cleaner jobs, in the opportunities for cleaner energy projects. These are things that we're going to continue to work on, but I'm always happy to work with the government of Saskatchewan to deliver good jobs for workers across Saskatchewan.
I guess he's saying that Scott's not green enough. You're not green enough, Scott.
I
That's
think that's what yeah, I mean, it's really sad to see, the Prime Minister of Canada prowling around his provinces like a burglar, so, just sort of showing up unnoticed and unwelcome. It's not a good thing. And I mean, he's always stressing how he's got this great relationship with the premiers, but I mean, he doesn't even say that he's coming, or has no intention of meeting with Scott Moore or anything like that. So yeah, it's just he's just like this, this robot. He just always pivots back to this net zero environmentalism. He did it with the Japanese prime minister too, right? The Japanese he was asking, a reporter asked him a question, about LNG supplies, and he just went into this, this robotic speech that he just parrots and regurgitates over and over again about reaching his his climate goals and things like that. And I mean, it's just so disappointing. Everybody's looking to Canada to be a leader, right? In these energy
we're not going to be a leader as long as he's there, man.
Right? Like they're just
I got to ask you about this as well. Verified gray check marks just dropped for government accounts, including CBC. Look at this. So CBC now. All right. So for those who are not into Twitter that much, what does this mean? So they're getting a gray check mark, not a blue one. Should people be concerned?
Well, I think it just made it official, what we all knew. So if you're on Twitter, they're changing the checkmark colors. So it's not just a blue verified account. If you're a government account, you get a gray check mark.
Oh.
CBC, our Canada Broadcasting Corporation, has officially got a gray check mark, marking it as a government state account, which is pretty funny. I mean, like I said, we all knew, right?
It's appropriate though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's official now. So yeah, that was a fun tweet by Stephen Taylor. He's a good guy, good funny guy. So yeah, I mean, it's just it's right out there now. There's no no.
No, but okay, will CBC now complain to Twitter and say, hey, we're not government. We just look that way and we just suck up to Trudeau, but we're not government per se. I mean, do they go to Elon Musk and say, Elon, you got to fix this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I'd definitely be protesting it if I were them. I mean, I would. I mean, they basically got the state-affiliated media slapped onto them. So, but I don't know if there's much that they can do about it, and I don't know if it's necessarily incorrect either.
No, I think it is absolutely correct.
Appropriate.
And didn't Elon Musk say something about that? I mean, I think he may have made a comment earlier, but look, if you're a media and you're in bed with government, you get paid by government. As far as we're concerned, you are government. I'd have to go back and check that, but I don't know. I mean, to me, this is a bit of a slap in the face, but it's a well-deserved slap in the face for the CBC. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with CBC, right? I mean, I
love them?
I know some of the journalists, and some of them do really good work. So I think it's really sad what's become of the network and things like that. I would prefer to see it sort of restored to its glory days, and providing the sort of reporting that people want to see and that they deserve to see. So, like I said, I feel bad because we've got some good people sinking with that ship. But the ship is sinking and it's sinking itself, and we can't.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was their decision as to how to take the company, right? And unfortunately, the good ones are leaving, right? A lot of them are taking off.
I mean, they pay great, compared to a lot of other media. Andy Lee joining us on Saga 960, coming to us from beautiful Calgary, Alberta. I got to ask you about this video here. This is a little creepy, but I kind of dig the message. Has anybody seen this? Thoughts? I don't know where this came from, but let's listen.
Boy, do I have some good news for you guys. I bet you the deep state is shaking in their boots right now because they're about to be exposed pretty hardcore. Keep an eye on Congress. Keep an eye on Speaker McCarthy, who once was compromised, but now is working with the good guys. You're about to see a flood of information rolling out very, very, very soon. You're about to see the hours of footage from the January 6th event, which is going to implicate the entire Democrat Party, many actors from the Republican Party that are nothing but a bunch of rhinos, the media. Everybody is going to be exposed. So buckle up. It's going to be an exciting next couple weeks with the flow of information that's going to be flying out. It's going to be hard to keep up with, but we've been waiting for this moment.
And that was posted on TikTok of all things. I mean, I thought that was sort of the Chinese spyware type of video provider. I mean,
It is.
I-
It is. That's why I'm not on
but-
it. I don't need any more Chinese people spying on me.
are you being spied on?
I've
The
got
Chinese spying on you?
I've got a lot of weird bots following me on Twitter. Yeah, so I stay away from TikTok. I don't TikTok, but yeah, interesting if true, right? There's still a lot of discussion about January 6th and what happens. So I guess, we'll keep an eye on the account and see if they drop anything interesting. I don't know if we're ever going to know, the whole real story behind January 6th. And it's been so long and it's become so convoluted and drawn out. So, it's sort of hard once there's so much information to sift through to sort of get to the bottom of what happened there. What are you bringing up here?
All right. Let's see. This is posted by Donald Trump Jr. Well, the Secret Service guards at the president's primary residence. This is the document stuff. Okay, so, but there is a reference to J6. So, guards, the Secret Service guards the president's primary residence outside the White House as well. So either the Republicans snuck in there over 2 years ago to plant this, or that the USSS, whatever that is, was in on it. Maybe it was the guy Trump choked out to take control of the beast on J6. I don't know what that means, but he was retweeting this. This is a Democrat representative from Georgia saying that he's suspicious of the classified documents that were found at the Biden's home and office. He suggests they might have been planted there. That's right. So that's the joke here, is that, I mean, all that time that Trump was there, targeted by the deep state, by the Stay Behind network from the Obama years, then now all of a sudden the Democrats are saying, hey, those documents, somebody put them in that garage with the Corvette. I don't know what's going on here, but this is looking pretty suspicious. But Joe is in big trouble, isn't he? I mean, he looks like he could be on his way out.
Yeah, I mean, and that wouldn't be a bad thing. Let's face it. I had a lot of hopes for Biden actually when he started, and I know a lot of people make fun of him for being, having dementia and things like that. He actually has a really bad speech impediment, which makes him look a lot worse than he actually is, I think. But yeah, I mean, he's just been a disaster, right? Him and JT tag teaming North America's leadership has just been disastrous for both countries. But you get what you vote for. So, and yeah, I don't know how much trouble, I mean, he's going to get in over these classified documents.
Sometimes you get who you don't vote for.
It seems to be a trend, you just put stuff home and dump it wherever. Like I said, I mean, I made a crack about, my garage is up for sale or up for rent. If anybody needs a locked place to store their classified documents, they're welcome to check them out. So, yeah, but I mean, you have to keep in mind, I mean, this is the same family that, left Hunter's laptop laying around, right? And everybody said that wasn't true either. And of course, unfortunately, it was true. So, so I would be really suspicious of claims saying that somebody planted secure classified documents in Joe Biden's garage. I think it's much more likely that he took them home and totally forgot about them. I think that's the more likely of the two stories. That's just my personal opinion. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. How much trouble he's going to get into, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know, right? I mean, certainly a lot of fuss was made over the raid on Trump's place. So, I don't know if we're seeing a similar reaction, though, from the press or other people, a proportionate reaction. But people are like, well, it's totally two totally different things. I mean, I don't know. It seems sort of like it's the same things to me. But, one person seems to get into a lot of trouble and another person seems to get into not so much trouble, right? So, yeah.
Did you consider going to Davos? Tell the
No,
truth.
I could never afford to go to Davos in 100 million years. But I am glad to see, yeah, you've got Andrew. Andrew's there representing Canada. Andrew Lawton from True North is there.
Well, I don't know if he's representing Canada. He might be representing people like you and me who want some kind of decent media coverage. Let's listen to Andrew.
Hey, I'm joining you from the promenade in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum annual meeting. I've got to talk for a moment about the badges, the infamous WEF annual meeting badges. Now, I've got an orange badge, which means I'm a member of the media here to report on it. But there's this whole weird feudal badge hierarchy here, this badge caste system that defines the relationships between the leaders and the peasants here in Davos. So if you've got a white badge with a blue line on it, you are an invited guest of the World Economic Forum. So you're a big business leader, a big politician, a G7 leader, a foreign minister, something like that. If you're a white badge with no blue line, it means you're the spouse of someone who's important. So you're important, but you're not exactly there. If you have a red badge, it means you're a driver. Now, just to put things in context here, this is the museum at Davos here. I haven't actually been in there myself. I have an orange badge. I believe I'm allowed in. But if you've got a red badge or a red stripe badge or a yellow stripe badge, you're not allowed in. So
you getting all that? There's going to be a test. I mean, wow. Okay. We got our badge situation. I don't know. Like, I guess that's indicative of, I guess that's why, it's indicative of the hierarchy.
Well,
of,
I mean,
what's going on in Davos, but
social credit scoring and all that stuff, right? So I'm not entirely surprised that they're divvying people up and giving them the elite special privileges and things like that. So yeah, anyways, good to see Andrew there. He's a great guy, funny guy.
He is. He's a very good guy.
Yeah, I actually just read his book, the Freedom Convoy book that he put out. He signed it for me, so it was good to meet him and get that. And yeah, Ezra Levant's there as well, bombing around and
yeah. Let's listen to this guy. He's got some ideas. Let's get at the WEF. A Swiss MP, member of Parliament, proposes cities where there is no individual ownership of cars, and encourages punishing any business or businesses that do not align with environmental goals. So this is it. This is exactly where the mindset is for these people over there. Let's listen.
Important for policies really to change the rules of the game, no? So that sustainability becomes the easier choice, not just for the people, but also for the companies, no? So also then changing the way districts work. For instance, in Zurich, we have a lot of districts where you actually don't need a car because all the activities, school, buying something, everything you can do in walking distance, no?
So there you go. You don't need a car in Zurich. So that means we're going to ban them. Hey, you don't need one. So that means you can't have one.
Yeah, well, I think I'm not sure.
Bozo. It's like, no, well, you don't really need this, and so therefore we're going to ban them in order to make our point.
Yeah, well, I mean, they really hate cars, right? Like they do. They all hate cars.
Well, for themselves, though, they love cars. Though, Andy,
well, yeah, they do.
Love cars for themselves.
No, but I mean, I'm not sure where it is, but did you hear that story about there's a village that, yeah, it's like if you travel outside of your quadrants, you have to pay a toll or things like that? Have you heard that?
Yeah, I've heard about the 15-minute city plan that they have.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like expanding on that, but it's like if you have to travel outside of your district, then you're going to have to pay a fee. right? So it's sort of like really, really limiting what you're able to do and where
They
you're
want
in your own
vehicles for themselves. Okay, so this is Ezra here posting this. This was on the road to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland today. Notice it wasn't a regular police car. It was a military cop pulling over drivers. Does Klaus Schwab have special control over the Swiss military? What are their orders? There you go. There's of one type or another, whether it's military or cops, I don't know. There you go. Oh, there's a porta potty. I don't know. I guess it's just as well you don't go. I mean, a lot of people didn't go. It didn't even bother. I mean, George Soros didn't go, sent his regrets. Bill Gates. I mean, isn't it possible that the stench of elitism now emanating from this event is almost too toxic for even some of these billionaires?
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of them are probably definitely having a second look about attending, right? Because it's come under an intense scrutiny. It is the source of a lot of conspiracy theories, like legit conspiracy theories. But they do some really strange things as well, right? Which have been brought into question fairly and rightly. And I mean, they are, some of the most powerful people in the world who have influence on our governments, and that's always a concern. Right. And this one happens to have a lot of influence over our own government, of course, because Chrystia Freeland is a part of the World Economic Forum, and she's there. I understand. I haven't seen any footage of her there yet. But I did post last night. I posted something. It was an old talk where she was, tagged with these members about stakeholder capitalism and these things that they want to push. I mean. And they did. I think they got like 5,000 guards this year for it. So probably, it's I'm facing an unprecedented amount of backlash after the pandemic. Like a lot of these institutions are under fire, right? It's not just the World Economic Forum. The United Nations has come under fire, during the course of the pandemic. The WHO has rightly come under fire as well throughout the course of the pandemic. So I think a lot of people are probably going to start to dissociate from it. Because it really doesn't have a lot of positive, connotations right now with the public, and the public is becoming more aware of, there's this elite group of super rich people who go in and make decisions for you, at a luxury resort that basically nobody can afford, and our governments are all involved, and it's just not a really good look, right? Like I said, they can do some good, right? I'm not going to say that everything that they do is evil or bad, or that it's, it's this cult destroy and populate the world. Okay. They do some good things, right?
They do?
They do. They do ideas, right? But some of them are downright creepy, like their biosurveillance and things like that are definitely disconcerting. But I mean, I think right now it's just sort of it's not a good look, right? You don't want to be involved with it at this moment. But I mean, Klaus Schwab did show up. People were saying he wasn't going to show up. He did show up. I did point out that the first thing that he did last year was retweet the keynote address that was given to the World Economic Forum by Xi Jinping. So I thought that said a lot about him, right? Well, I mean, come on, I'm going to go home and I'm going to, the first thing I'm going to do is retweet the president of China. I mean, that just sort of shows, where his loyalties lie and like that.
I got to ask you about this story before we go, because this is Juanita Broadwick. This was one of the ones who was basically abused sexually by an ex-president. And she's posting this. Are you kidding me? House Democrat introduces legislation to end free speech for white people. Okay, so House Democrat, her name is Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas, introducing legislation that would end free speech for white people in the United States. The representative wants to define hate speech as stuff that only white people can be charged with. So basically, the message is, what what do you make of this? I don't think it's going to. I don't think.
I love doing this. I do. I really have to say. I really have to say, yeah, I love I'm so glad that we met. Yeah, I haven't read the legislature, to be honest, so I'm not
Oh
super
man.
with what it says.
Wow. I mean, but this is a serious, I assume this is a serious person. Sheila Jackson Lee would end free speech for white people. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I bet she's going to get a lot of support from people in her caucus. The Democrats probably be all over this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I guess if they're trying to make what they're trying to make selective hate laws, hate speech laws for white people only, is that the idea behind this legislature, or what is it?
I don't know.
You know,
This is,
but we'll have to see how it's
I doubt they'll get a whole lot of support from the Republican side, but you never know. Some of those rhinos, they might be virtue signaling as well. Andy, what are you working on?
What am I working on? I'm still kind of sludging through government contracts. I've got to get my article written. You know, all the news about the consultants and the contracting that's gone out and the subcontracting. Really, really concerning. And of course, we're going to investigate McKinsey. And we know that, you know, McKinsey was run by, you know, our former ambassador to China and Trudeau's buddy, Dominic Barton. So, you know, that's going to be investigated. But when I started looking at that, oh, and I found that weird. When we paid, for whatever reason, Dominic Barton under Global Affairs Canada, so outside of his salary, we paid him $150,000. So I did send that off to some MPs, and that, you know, is probably going to be looked at in the House committee as well, because I was like, what did we pay him individually for consulting when he was a public servant, right? So he's got this sole, you know, $150,000 payment as well that was listed under public affairs accounts. So, you know, I'm just kind of sludging through all that and trying to figure out, you know, where else we've spent money on third-party consultants and things like that we didn't need to. And like I said, you know, one of the Arrive-Can contractors has got multiple other companies that they probably outsourced to, and they also had government employees. So it's like, you know, you have a government employee working for you, and then you score a government contract, and then you go and sub it out to your other company. I mean, what exactly is going on here? Right? I mean, it's just like you know, it's just like a revolving door of corruption whenever you start looking at this stuff.
That sounds like Trudeau. Andy, thank you so much for coming on the show. Always a great pleasure.
Yeah, it's always good to see you. Yeah, we'll see you again soon.
All right, bye-bye. Andy Lee, coming to us from beautiful Calgary, Alberta. Let's take a break. Back with more News Talk Saga 960 and the Mark Petrona Show.